What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and this is the B1KER Bar Podcast live stream, episode number 92. And I've said this so many times, you think I'd know what I was doing by now, but I don't. So I'm sorry I'm running a little bit behind. And also, there hasn't been a show in a while because apparently my life has been extremely busy, and it's summertime. So I'm having a good time. It's very easy to have a good time in the summertime and not be so diligent about the podcast. Maybe I should move it to another day. Somebody else mentioned this to me a while ago. What would you guys think if it was like a Thursday night instead of a Sunday night? Maybe that's what I should do. Then it'd be easier for me to stick to a schedule or something like that. Anyways, it's going to be intermittent for a little bit still. I got a bunch of things going on. So it is what it is. You guys get it. So with all of that being said, do me a favor and swing by my Instagram or my Facebook and just give me a little follow over there because I like seeing those numbers grow. Instagram just like broke 4 grand the other day or not too long ago, something like that. It's 4,000 people there. I can't believe it, which is really rad. And Facebook is like, I don't know. I just don't have enough. Wait a minute. My base is over. It's like 40 years old. All of you guys are on Facebook. Seriously, swing by the Facebook page at B1KER B1. And just follow me. Seriously, it would be much appreciated. So as you guys that are watching instead of just listening, you can see I'm not in the garage, but I have like a screenshot of the garage behind me because it's like 170 billion degrees out there right now, and unless you want to actually watch me fry on a live stream, I'm going to do it in here with some air conditioning. That's the plan. Also, if you guys want to help support the channel, swing by Patreon because you guys are the backers. You guys are the sole providers to the B1KER Bar Podcast. I do have a sponsorship thingy coming, kind of sponsorship trial run thing coming up here soon. And I'm actually really excited about that. And we'll actually have something different for you guys to listen to me rant about at the beginning of the show. That would be fun. Anyways, let's go ahead and bring on today's guest. I'm going to bring him over here. Bam. See if I know what I'm doing. How's it going, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Not bad. So this is, for you guys, this is Sebastian, or better known as Seabass. And he runs a Instagram and YouTube channel called Normal Mountain Biker, right?
Yeah.
I told you that thing was going to fall asleep behind me, didn't I? What do you know? It's like those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about. It's probably because you're listening and not watching. And apparently, I don't know how to make this thing stay on behind me. So we just got the screensaver.
Hey,
This is good. This is
the fail.
Yeah, man. This is what you got to do. You just got to run with it, though. So, anyways, you're out of what city?
I'm actually in Marin County, specifically in the town of Novato here in Northern California.
So you're basically where like everybody hates mountain bikers.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm pretty much a criminal here if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you have to have like a gravel bike to at least like get a little bit of a pass there, but even the gravel bikers are still, I don't know. It's just it doesn't work well, right?
Oh no, it's been a struggle. Some say it's getting better. I really don't know. It's changing, but
yeah.
I don't think it's really changing at the rate that a lot of people want to see it changing.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's out there that doesn't really know the situation, we've got Marin County has kind of been it's been labeled as the birthplace of mountain biking, and a lot of really big names come out of Marin County. We've got people like Mark Weir, Ben Cruz, Marco Osborne. They're all from this area, and so we have and obviously a lot of others other than that. And unfortunately, we have a pretty tricky situation here with the whole mountain biking scene. There's a lot of anti-biking rhetoric, I guess you could say, in some way. Yeah,
totally.
Right? And there's like 4 legal bike trails that are not fire road or anything like that. I mean, I can only think of right now like maybe 4 or 5 like actual trails like that are not, single track trails is what I'm referring to, right? That are bike legal. So pretty much
So you got like basically like China Camp and Tim Rancho.
Yeah. And China Camp is actually, I believe it's state park. I think it is. So that's kind of why that is, I guess you could say legal to ride bikes on. But anything that's like under the Marin County Open Space District, which is the vast majority of the land here in Marin County,
right?
There's mountain biking is like heavily forbidden on anything outside of fire road, and even there's actually some places where you can't even ride your bike on a fire road here. So
there you go.
Yeah, there's few places, but they do exist here. So it's to say the least, it's a struggle.
For sure.
Getting out and doing what we love to do best, right?
So how'd you get into riding, man?
It's kind of a long story. I've always really been into biking. I've always been into any kind of action sports as long as I can remember from being a little kid. And my first memory of sending something on a bike, we had those those super cheap plastic ramps, those like foot tall by like 4 feet wide, plastic ramps you would buy at like Target or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
So it was my brother and I and the neighborhood kids, growing up, 6, 7, 8 years old. And we were just, get our, our cheap little, 20-inch, mountain bikes or whatever we had back then and just absolutely sending it. And, I remember specifically we had a competition where it was, let's see who can jump the most car lengths. Right. So you can imagine the carnage that came with that, right?
Yeah, right.
As little kids just, sending it on these plastic jumps on cheap bikes on concrete of all things, right? So
right.
And then it one of these days, we went on a family trip. We were very lucky. My parents always took us traveling, and one of the places we went to was Canada. And at this point in time, all we had experience to was plastic jumps in the front yard. And we went, up the coast in Vancouver, British Columbia. We went up the coast through Vancouver, Richmond, Squamish, and we finally made our way up to Whistler. And I remember the moment that I looked up, actually in Blackcomb at the park, and I didn't know anything about mountain biking at that point. I remember getting there and I looked up, and if you've been there, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's kind of this area where you look up, and it's right where they have Crankworks, and they have all these jumps and everything there, and the lift is right there. Right there in the village. And I remember looking up and just seeing these guys just hitting these huge jumps, and I was just in awe, just mesmerized by it.
Mesmerized, right?
So it ended up turning into kind of one of those things where it was like, I begged my parents, like, please, like I want to go check it out. I want to go see what these guys are doing. I want to ride. And of course, my parents, they were like, all right, fine. So we rented I don't know if you guys remember the Kona Shreds. Do you guys remember those bikes? The old like hardtail boxy frame, and they had those for rent there. Took a class and they took us on the mountain. And my first like real mountain bike experience was at Whistler of all places.
Oh wow!
And
you're pretty much just destroyed then for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah,
chasing that.
But that was my first introduction to biking, and from there it really spiraled into kind of what it's become today. We after that it was just a slow startup where I got my
do you have siblings? Do you have siblings?
I do. I have one brother who's
okay. So how far are you guys apart?
He's a couple years younger than I am.
Okay, so you guys both rode Whistler that day? Or?
Yeah, both of us.
Okay.
Did. Yeah. So we both got into it kind of at the same time. He was never really too much into biking until recent years. But for me in particular, I after that it was like I was obsessed, man. I had to, just imagine this like, I was, I don't know what I was, like maybe 7, 8, 9. I don't remember how old I was really back then, but it was just like, I was just dreaming about it, right? And so finally one day, I got we popped into Mike's Bikes here in San Rafael, and my parents got me a super bottom end, I think it was a Hard Rock, and a Specialized Hard Rock, right? Some super old one, right? And and I smashed on that thing, man. That's the bike that really started it all for me.
I think everybody starts out with a pretty cheap bike, man. I mean, not many people get the fortune. I mean, well, I guess nowadays kids maybe are starting out with a better deal, but I mean, my first mountain bike was from Montgomery Ward's. I mean, it was like the big box
wow.
bike. My mom was dating this dude, and he was into mountain biking. They bought me the bike from there and the extended warranty.
Wow.
And basically, I rode that bike for a year and would take it in. I would be basically exchanging it for a new bike like every couple weeks. I would just be busting everything on it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, it was like the warranty was going to be up in like a week. And I talked them into just refunding me the money. And they gave me the money from it. And then I put that down on my first real mountain bike, which was a giant, a giant hardtail back in the day. How old are you?
I'm actually 25.
25. Okay. So you're a bit younger than me, but back when I was riding, back in the day, let me tell you about what I was riding. Yeah. I mean, mountain bikes then were fully rigid. I mean, there was no suspension at all. So, I mean, a decent bike, my bike that I bought was like $500. Like the top of the line giant at the time was $1,000,
Yeah.
So, I mean, and honestly, it was like a road bike with fucking knobby tires. So it wasn't like you were getting much.
Wow. Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, dude, that's awesome, man. Everybody starts out that way. And, it's like, I think that's good though, because it makes you really recognize what a better bike does,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And it makes you really appreciate what you have as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like, I go to, we have, around here, we have Stafford Lake Bike Park. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before.
It sounds familiar. Yeah.
It's just this jump park that we have here at one of our county parks. And there's a good variety of different types of jumps that one can hit, anywhere from like green to black diamond and so on. Right. But it's interesting because you come out here, on a weekend and you have such a vast variety of riders out here, anything from, kids that are like 6 years old, on their training bike, hitting some of this stuff, to like full blown adults, that have super, super nice bikes, just sending stuff. Right. And I've always found it fascinating that you see you see kids out there that are like 10, 11, 12 years old, and they have like the most basic bike, some Walmart, purchase bike. Yeah. And they're out there, hitting the black diamond, just bouncing off everything,
Right.
It just goes to show that, a lot of the, at least how I see it, is a lot of the sport, is mostly, what you can do with your tools. Right. And not so much, what the bike does for you. So I don't know if you watch my channel or you have in the past, but the logo, I mean, the saying, is it only takes a bike to be a biker. And that's that. When I started my channel, I really wanted people to really understand that, because it's so easy to be caught up in how much money you're thrown at gear. Right. Mm-hmm. But I know myself, and I'm sure you've had this as well. Every once in a while you get fucking judgy, right? And you see some dude show up in some like cut off jeans and like his sneakers and some beat up ass bike. And you're like, this dude can't ride. And then he fucking puts you down. You know what I mean? Like just lays the heat all day. And you're like, holy shit, man. So like, it doesn't matter what you're riding, dude. It only takes the bike to be a biker. You know? Exactly. Yeah.
It's always humbling when that happens, man. I remember there was a guy that I was like in one of my times of riding when I thought I was in like peak shape or really good shape, right? And I went on this big group ride. You know that website, mtbr.com?
Yeah.
So they did like some group ride, and I went to this area. It was like in the area where I ride all the time. And there was this dude that's probably about the size I am now, maybe a little bit bigger than I am right now. And he's walking around, no shirt on, getting ready to ride. And I was thinking, man, this dude's he's going to be hurting on these climbs. And I was on that climb, and this dude just freaking passes me like one-handed, sitting up, just flapping his jaw, talking to his buddy. And I'm like giving it everything I got to like stay in the pack. And like, he just dusted me. And I was like, dude, you need to stop, man. You can't think like that.
Wow.
That's amazing. These things, they happen, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So, you run the channel by yourself, or I think you said while we were off camera that you do this with your brother?
Yeah, so it's my brother and I, and my brother's, it's interesting how the whole thing kind of started. We had originally the page was kind of me filming him. I actually have a background in videography, and I can get into that as well. But it started off, me filming him. We'd go to local trails, bike parks, whatever it was, and videos, photography, whatever it may have been. It was posting it of him, and then one day, I was just like, here, just film me doing this. Let me just post something of me doing something, right? Posted it, and it just got incredible feedback. It was like views on views, and I was getting likes, and people were commenting like, "Oh my God, look at this guy riding." And then that to us was kind of a pivotal moment of like, okay, this is a niche, right? I mean, there's not too many guys out there, that are riding bikes, and then sending the stuff that we're sending. We're going to all these different spots, North Star, Pacifica, whatever it may be, and so
I think the catch there. Let's just say this, for people that are listening, maybe haven't seen your Instagram or not. Yeah. Like, the catch there is not many guys that are your size riding bikes like that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is, right? I mean, I know for my channel, I mean, I was just a few months ago, I was 300 pounds, and even now, I mean, I'm still not a little dude. I'm like 250. So definitely not a lot of guys our size going out there freaking sending it,
Oh, no. And just as a reference for all you guys listening out there, and I'm about 6'4", something like that, and and I'm
something like that.
It depends on the day, but, and I'm roughly about 300 pounds. So
right on.
It's I've met very few people that are my size riding. Now being exposed to kind of the internet and having that kind of network to have the access to a lot of different people, and people are constantly messaging me, and I do get people that are like, hey, I can't believe I found your page. It's like I didn't think there was anybody else like us out there riding bikes and doing mountain biking stuff. So that's been really cool to me, at least, because I always thought I was kind of a unicorn in that sense, right? And to hear,
I was always definitely one of the bigger guys that out of people that I rode with, and I've been riding, I mean, for a long time, but it's interesting the feedback that you get from people, and one of the ones, and I'm gonna pivot a little bit here. One of the ones that I run into a lot, and I'm sure you probably do, is people are like, hey, I weigh X, and let's just say it's like 250, maybe it's 300, maybe it's 325, but they're like, do you think I can buy this bike and the frame is going to support me?
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind, because every time I get that question, it's like, I never once have thought about, like, even at 300 pounds was like, is this thing going to crack underneath? No, dude, just fucking ride, man. You're like, and do you get paranoid, or did you like wonder about that, or do you get those questions?
All right. Well, so I do get those questions actually at least once a day. I'll have someone message me about that. Like at least some days, if I post a video that clearly shows me and my size and whatnot, and me doing something, I'll get like 5 to 10 people a day asking me that very specific question. But to answer your other question of, do I worry about my bike breaking? Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure do. I've had, I'm not going to name any names, of course, right? Of any specific brands, but I've had bikes broken on me in the past. Like I've fully snapped frames, and
but I think that's something that's going to happen. Like, I mean, guys that are 150 snap frames too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like I always feel like it's kind of like when people like have that like carbon versus aluminum freaking conversation. They're like, oh, it only snaps because it's carbon. If it was aluminum, it bent. It's like, no, dude, get on the internet, man. There's broken shit all over the place, dude.
Yeah. And then you'll find those videos where it's like someone's testing a carbon frame, and then it's like it takes like 50 times more energy to break the carbon frame than it does for the aluminum one,
right?
Or then you have the counter video of like, oh look, I did this on my aluminum bike and I did it with a carbon one. The carbon one broke. It's just the internet doing the internet. What it does.
Yeah. The internet's good at that shit, man. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, but you are you a carbon rider or an aluminum rider?
I've owned about even amount of bikes for both.
Uh-huh.
And I'm kind of tending to stick to aluminum nowadays. I'm not at all opposed to carbon, like not at
Uh-huh.
all. I've just within my budget, I've been kind of trying to be more of a budget friendly, budget oriented, kind of
Uh-huh.
moving forward. And cheaper bikes tend to be aluminum. So
Yeah.
that's nowadays that's kind of where I'm riding. But I do see
Until you
myself
get
having
sponsored, you'll be like, fuck that.
that's the idea, right? But we'll see where it goes. I mean, I love carbon bikes. I mean, some of my favorite bikes are carbon bikes. It's just they're well out of my budget right now. So
Yeah. No, I totally understand the budget thing.
yeah.
I think that if budget was a concern for me, then yeah, I wouldn't care. When I bought my Chameleon, the first one that I had, I bought that in aluminum because I was like, I don't really care about this being carbon, but I've found that like there's some flex in aluminum that I just don't really like for my size.
Yeah.
And I think that some guys may look at it as some other reasons on why they do or they don't like carbon, but for me, I like the frame being rigid and my wheels as well. So are you I mean, you do a lot of jumping. Are you predominantly, do you have a dirt jumper? Do you have like a trail bike too? Or like, what kind of bikes do you ride?
Yeah, so right now I kind of have all three. So I've got a dirt jumper, which I don't really ride that often. I just am not that comfortable on a dirt jumper yet. The main bike that I ride is my old mountain bike, and currently it's a YT Capra, and I love that thing. It's a great bike. And I also have a YT 2S as well, or twos. I don't know how to pronounce.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah, but
you're allowed to say whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. But I do mostly the jumping on my enduro bike or my downhill bike. Yeah, and there was a point in time where because of the parts shortages, as probably everybody's experiencing, I wasn't able to ride my all mountain bike. There was just a bunch of stuff I couldn't buy for it, so I was stuck with just my downhill bike, and I was hitting all the jumps on that stuff. Going to the bike parks, trail riding, whatever it was. We got to get out on the trail somehow, right?
Dude, I called 11 shops the other day so I could get a chain.
Are you serious?
11 shops. I was specifically looking for like the XX1 black chain because, if you're going to take a picture, it has to look good.
Yeah.
Which is like so not me, because I can't tell you how many times I've talked shit about people that spend that much money on a chain. But I accidentally had to buy one for my other bike like a month ago. I was trying to buy a chain, and that was actually the only chain that they had was that XX1 that's black. And I was like, I need a chain, so I guess this is what I'm walking out of the shop with, right?
Yeah.
So then I just built this new short travel 29er that I've been teasing the hell out of everybody, but I haven't told them what it is yet. And so I'm getting ready to take the pictures. You build a new bike, you got to take pictures while it's like clean. And I'm like, I need to get a chain. I'm like, dude, this thing would look really sick if that chain was black.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, here I am spending $90 on a chain voluntarily. But yeah, it took me 11 shops, and I was surprised how many that I called that didn't even have any 12-speed chains at all.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap, man.
Yeah, I've been afraid to start asking just because I know what the answer is going to be.
Yeah. But, yeah. So, what were you looking for? What was not in stock?
To keep it simple, some drivetrain stuff I couldn't find. It was the same thing, 12 speed. I broke my derailleur, and I that, and then wheel parts. It was a combination.
Did you get the axis?
What was that?
Did you get the axis?
No. No, I didn't know. Like I said, I'm on a budget.
Yeah. As soon as I said that out loud, that's what I thought to myself. I was like,
yeah.
Well, some things got to slide a little bit in the budget.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, maybe one day. That'd be cool. But no, just basic things that I just wasn't able to find, here and there. And that was basically the main thing. And I was out of commission for like, I don't know, 2 months without that bike. So it
Yeah.
was, it's interesting. I, when this whole thing started, and once, stuff started getting, kind of difficult to find, you see on different websites, the stuff was out of stock, or going to bike shops and whatnot, right? I started kind of stocking up on, rotors and brake pads and, just consumables, right? And, but during the whole thing, I think that, chains, at least I noticed the chains and derailleurs, they went so quick. I mean, it was just like the moment that people caught on that there was a parts, somewhat of a parts shortage, it solidified itself with the derailleurs and the chains, and that's at least what I noticed. And I'm sure
for me, I've had a hard time with brake pads. If I find brake pads, like, and I run Saints, I mean, I'm a big dude like you, so like it's 203s and Saints, and if I'm in a shop and I'm like, hey, you guys got any pads? Like, if they got them, I'm buying them, And I like, so I know you made a post the other day. You're running SRAM brakes, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Is that like on purpose, or like just what came with your bike, or?
I guess you could say kind of both. Because I have replaced the brakes before, and I've just chosen SRAM. I like them. I like the way they feel. I've never really had any issues.
There's no like right or wrong answer here, so don't feel like I'm like telling you you're doing it. I'm gonna tell you you're doing it wrong, but there's that's my opinion. You're allowed to have your own. So which ones are you running? The codes or?
Yeah, the codes. I believe they're the codes. I think they are. Yeah.
But I had SRAM on my last Bronson when I first bought it, and honestly, I didn't really mind it. Like, the modulation is different. It's smoother. Like, I prefer Shimano's because it's like really bitey. I like it like off or on, and I feel like no matter which one you have, you're going to like, your brain's going to adjust to how it actually works. So like, if you're a SRAM guy and you first get on it, you're going to be like, oh my God, these Shimano's are like super bitey. But in like a week, you're not going to notice it anymore. And it's going to be the same the other way around. You're going to go from Shimano to SRAM. You're going to be like, oh, it's mushy. And a week later, you're going to be like, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I just feel like Shimano does a better job at like dissipating heat.
Okay.
So I think because of that, at least when I was running the SRAMs, I would like what do you call it? Like glaze the pads because they get too hot, and they would just start chirping and making all kinds of noise.
Oh yeah.
And being on YouTube, and every time you hit the brakes, it's all like I couldn't handle it, dude. So because of that, I run, and I like the bike better. But because those are the main reasons I run Shimano, and I also use organic pads, even though they burn through quicker, they just seem to be quieter, and I prefer to not listen to my brakes.
Yeah. I actually found some those random aftermarket companies that'll pop up that make brake pads every once in a while. I found one. I'm totally blanking on the name of it, but I found.
Is it
one
Galfer?
Oh, I don't know.
Because Galfer is one that a lot of people I know talk about being really good for an aftermarket pad.
I know that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go for it.
I don't know. I'll talk as long as you let me. So go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say that I found a pad that's specifically made for e-bikes, and I think it's an organic pad. I don't really know. There's not too much details behind it, but all I know is that they work really well for me. I love them. And they. I've always had the problem. As you probably saw in the video that I posted recently, and I'm just blowing through pads and rotors, and that video in particular, that was on my downhill bike, and it was the bike was brand new. I've only had it for like a month, just over a month now, right? But that was like I've used it only at bike parks, basically. So it was like straight out of the box. It's like it did one run here in town, and then it's just been like North Star, Incline Village, North Star again, and then so it's like that's kind of the reason why that those pads were so wrecked, is because it was nonstop, just intense riding, just really putting it to the test. So but I mean the other ones, like I have on my all mountain bike, I have on my enduro bike, I have pretty much the same brakes, and they last much longer. So I mean, it all comes down to really how hard I'm riding it. And to be totally honest, I since I've had this like stockpile on pads and rotors, I've kind of been like hell, I'm doing this for YouTube or Instagram, whatever. I'm just gonna send it, and just come, just not care.
Yeah. I had a guy on recently from he does like a website, a review website called the Lone Wolf. You've probably seen this stuff around.
Yeah, I know.
And he was telling me that TRP just released some new brakes, and they have like the width of the rotor, like for a regular Shimano, like out of the box is like 1.8, and it's like out of spec once it's at like 1.5 millimeters, and those new TRP rotors are like 2.1, out of the box. So he was saying that paired with, they have a new brake as well, like a new 4-piston brake, and he's like, dude, it'll blow your mind like how good these brakes are.
Wow.
And I'm one of those guys that's pretty brand loyal. Like once I find something like I like, I'm gonna go to the grave with it, and just those specs alone though, like really made me consider trying those brakes, because brakes is one of those things that you don't realize that you have shitty ones until you get better ones. And every time you get better ones, you're like, how the hell was I riding with those other ones?
Yeah.
Especially as a big guy. I mean, I would imagine dudes that are, what brakes are engineered for, like 150, 170 pound guys probably don't feel the same way as us. But dude,
exactly.
Like for me, man, I'm like, people are like, oh, well, you running 203s front and back. And I'm like, they're like, on your XC bike? I'm fuck yeah, dude. Like, you don't want to stop, man. So
and I'm only running these small ones because they don't make any bigger.
Right? Yeah. If I could get like 405s, I would, man.
No, that's one of the things that a lot of people, they don't, one of the things that I've had a problem with is my feet are so big that I cannot find mountain bike shoes. They just don't exist for me. And I wear size 17 shoe American.
Holy shit, dude.
So I get like all the time when we're out.
You don't even need to wear shoes, man.
Yeah. I'll get people out in the trails and they see me. I'm like wearing some like Adidas running shoes out there. And
so like basically every time that there's like a Bigfoot like print found in the woods, it was really like you camping, just taking a leak in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah, sorry guys, I'm actually Bigfoot. Yeah, sorry. I was trying to mention that a while ago.
I'm actually Bigfoot. Oh man,
that's awesome. That's one of those things that a lot of people don't understand is like with the shoe thing. People are like, why don't you just buy 510s? Why don't you just buy the new whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'd love to, but unfortunately, I can't.
So what are you wearing then?
So I basically switch back and forth with Adidas running shoes, and I have like these Pumas that have this like the bottom of the shoe kind of looks like what you get from like a 510 or one of those other
kind of gummy.
So
like a skate shoe kind of.
Well, and I run flats, flat pedals as well. I can't run clips just because there's no shoes that are big enough for me to fit.
What pedals are you using?
I run the Shimano flat, like whatever their downhill pedals are. I don't know if they're specifically downhill, but they're like these super gnarly, flat metal pedals that Shimano makes. And
I'm gonna send an email to a company and introduce you to them that I think you should really try, dude. It's called Pedaling Innovations. Have you heard of them?
No.
So they basically make a flat pedal that's like longer front to back than normal pedals. And their thought process is more that like, I'm going to show this to you so you can see it, but people that are listening can't. But when your foot is like sitting on the pedal, they want like my fingertips are my toes, and this is the heel is the back. Yeah. They want your like heel and the ball of your foot on that pedal. And instead of like when you're on a flat now, your toes and your heel kind of wrap around them. And so the guy's like a sports medicine, probably something else that I've just screwed up. But like he said he was like working out doing squats and he worked out like barefoot. And he was thinking like, man, how can I do all this weight and the way that people are riding, their body's actually not like made to hold weight this way. And when you're pushing on the pedal, it's the same thing as doing a squat. Like you're pushing all that downward motion. So he made this pedal that's longer. And I'm telling you right now, they look a little bit funny because they're a little longer. And every one of my friends that have tried those pedals has bought them.
Really?
Like every single one of them. I have a set that I had them send me just to loan to people. And I had a buddy that talked all kinds of shit about those pedals. I gave them to him. He had them for like a month. And I told him, I was like, just ride these pedals for a month. And I guarantee you when I take them away, you'll buy them. And when I took them away, he did like one ride. He was like, yep, just bought them. Like, wow. He's like, all the shit I talked, I'm not going to say anything. And with your feet being that big, I would imagine that your arches are freaking sore as hell when you're riding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
I mean, you're basically standing on a spindle.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So they have a size that they build for or they manufacture for people that have up to a size 12 foot. And they actually have one that's a size 12 and bigger foot that they make. So I'll definitely shoot you over an email to them and like introduce you guys. I think that you'd be a great ambassador for them, honestly.
Oh, that would be
with
awesome.
a shoe size like that, and you're a shredder, dude. So I mean, honestly, I think that would be it would be really good for you guys to pick up. Yeah. So outside of that, so now we talked pedals, big guys in pedals.
Dialed. We're ready.
Right?
We're good on pedals.
Right. I saw some people in the comments earlier. They were talking about pressure, tire pressure, and me. I mean, back in the tube days, I was running like 50 psi just so I wouldn't get flats. Mm-hmm. And whenever I finally went tubeless, I felt comfortable enough to drop it down to like 30.
Yeah.
Which is still ridiculous compared to a lot of people. And I run CushCore too now, so I'm a little lower. And by the way, you said yes. You're a CushCore guy?
I swear by CushCore.
Yeah. I think as a big dude, there's no way you can't run CushCore.
I can never imagine riding on a mountain without CushCore ever again. It's one of the best things invented for bikes since the dropper post, in my opinion.
Yeah. The first time I rode tires with CushCore in them, I remember cornering and thinking to myself, this is what it feels like to like have like good tires the way that these skinny guys talk about.
Yeah.
Like I was just blown away, like completely blown away by how my cornering was.
Oh yeah.
What was your experience?
So the main thing that I noticed is, first, I mean, I don't know if you guys listening out there or watching this, really know kind of the whole science behind CushCore. I'm not sponsored or affiliated with them at all. This is just like, I'm stoked on the company. So, the idea is that you're adding like some kind of protection to your rim. So it's like an insert, right? And with that, I felt straight off the bat that when you're going through like rock gardens, your bike is so much, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's so much, you can respond a lot better to your bike, and you're not, you don't realize how much you're hitting your rim until you use CushCore, and then you're like, wow, you go through the same rock garden and you're like, oh wow, I didn't feel any, rim pinches at all. And and it's almost like an extra little bit of suspension as well, because when you're, when you're bouncing through, it gives you, it's like, I don't know, what is it, like an inch and a half or an inch thick, right? So just that inch thick of protection it makes a world of a difference. And then also,
I'm going to tell you right now that I've interviewed the guys that started CushCore and the dude that's like the engineer behind it.
Okay.
And he would freaking be over the moon that you just said it was added suspension, because that guy, one of the things that when I first talked to them, people were always saying, oh, it's for rim protection. And he was like, no, man, this is a suspension device. Like, it allows you to get lower pressure in your wheels, and it does like what you were talking about. Like it's dampening, So yes, the rim protection is a benefit. There's no doubt about that. I mean, anybody that runs CushCore, if you take your tires off and you look at that CushCore, it's beat the hell up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it looks like Swiss cheese, dude. You can see every time that you just tapped a rock.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like they're all in there, but your rim's not screwed up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens. But those guys would be like, you definitely nailed it as far as like the way that they want that product. They actually did, because I want to say Richie Rude is one of their sponsored riders.
Okay.
And they did, or they just hired him for this test or something like that. But they did in Sedona one year, runs down this trail called Brewers. Have you ever been to Sedona?
I'm not biking. I have been there before though.
Okay, you need to go ride there. It's super fun.
Yeah, I'm
but they did timed runs with him and all this like scientific freaking mad scientist shit hooked up to his bike, and did it with and without. And there was a difference in his times, like a substantial difference. I don't remember what it was. I don't want to throw a number out there, otherwise it's gonna be like, Robert said 50%. No, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it was, but it was substantial. There was a big difference on what his times were with the Cushcore. And I feel like you said, I mean, just from using it, it was 100% for me. Like, I don't care how much weight this adds to my wheel. It changes how much it rides so much.
Yeah, that's the main thing is you're making, it's not that much more, heavy than it would be if you didn't have it on there. I mean, it's like, I don't know what, just like a few I mean, and people can get really,
it's not super heavy,
but for me, for someone my size, I literally, I don't feel any difference, and it's just that extra bit of confidence, it pays off tenfold. And then and then another thing, if you do happen to, I don't know how you would do this, but if you do happen to pinch or, you burp, right, and you lose a lot of your sealant, you use your air. Like I said, I don't know how that would happen with Cushcore, but if it does, you can still ride out of the situation. You're not like totally stranded, right? So that's another extra benefit. And that's one of those things where I'm sure all of us have been in a situation where we're running, tubeless tires. The next thing you know, you just take a corner a little too hard and you're back down to like 10 PSI.
Yeah.
It's like, oh crap. Or even worse, you lose all your air and it's like, what am I going to do? I'm in the middle of nowhere right now. And I've got a hand pump. Like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
So
I actually carry a tube for that one time. Like for me, it's more like sidewall rips. That's usually what is the showstopper. It's not like burping or like it's a sidewall rip, because I will be riding something gnarly, and some of that rock, in Northern California is not like it's like shale kind of. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like little baby razor blades, man.
Yeah.
And when you're like riding somewhere that's got a lot of that, it's only a matter of time, and there's no bacon strips that you can use to stop one of those,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially like up in like, on the Burma trails up in Annandale or something like that.
Yeah.
Just like come around a corner wrong and nick a tire on a nice old boulder sticking out of the hillside.
Yeah. Annandale is a super fun place to ride. I haven't been down there in a while, but the Burmas are definitely really fun runs. I think that Lawndale too off the backside's pretty fun. That's pretty rocky too.
Yeah. I know that there's been a really cool change in scenery up there, if you know what I mean. So
so I would imagine you're saying there's some building going on.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say anything of the sort.
Maybe if there was something going on, that's probably yeah. I'll have to get back down there. I know every time I go down, there's some new like game trails popping out all over the place. So
yeah.
Damn deer running all over.
That's one of the things. I don't know if you've noticed that in your area, but at least here in Marin County, there's been so many new people riding bikes. I was worried for the longest time that, my generation, when I got out, when I was in high school and got out of high school, I was worried that we were the only ones, causing mayhem, but nowadays, I see kids all over the place shredding, and they're, I hear things like, oh, this is getting built here. Oh, there's a little jump spot over there. It's like, I understand, the downsides to doing that, but it's like, I'm so happy to see kids, not going down the path of so many people that I knew growing up, and getting into drugs and getting into like really bad life situations. And,
it's hard. It's like what you just said a second ago. It's like, it's like on one hand, you can totally understand where people come from, that they're like, hey, you're not doing the bike community any justice by building these illegal shit.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like, man, people are going outside and they're having fun. They're like being outside instead of playing Xbox. Like,
yeah,
which
is also a drug, by
right.
the way.
Like here's a good example. I play guitar, like not very good, but I've been playing guitar I played guitar for a long time, right? And I remember when Guitar Hero came out, and all these people would be like, "Dude, I'm like shredding like Sweet Child of Mine," and they're like all stoked about all these songs that they could play, and I'm like, "You're not playing guitar, you know that, right?" Like so it's like the same thing. It's like these people that don't want you out there building trails would rather they sit in the house and play a video game about riding bike than like go out and actually do it.
Yeah.
To me, like, I don't know, man. I think that anything that gets people outside doing something active and like rewarding in so many ways, like biking or there's other activities too.
Yeah.
We really shouldn't be trying to hinder that,
Yeah. It's an unfortunate situation, of what we have here in Marin, but we make do with what we have, right? Like luckily there's so many, you have places like Tamarancho, right? They have a really good system of trails out there, and they're pretty cool with people riding out there. And as far as I know, there's no restrictions on biking. Just pay your fee and you can get in there and ride all you want, right? So you do have places like that, and they have Flow Trail out there. B17 is a good trail, and so you do have access. But like I was saying, kind of at the beginning of our conversation, it's so small. They up in the Novato Marinwood area, there's a new trail called Ponte Ridge Trail, and it's right on the eastern side of Big Rock Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fully built trail. It's pretty cool. If you're just starting to get into riding and you haven't been exposed to places like Whistler or North Star or whatever. It's a really cool trail, right? But then it also does have its downsides, and it's you have double flow, right? So you have people going up the hill and you have people coming down the hill, and then so it's kind of like one of those things where it's like it's really cool to see things like this popping up, but one trail is just not cutting it. And then and the upsetting part is that we have so many trails that a lot of people don't even know exist. And there's never been any issues on them, as far as conflicts between hikers and horse people or whatever. You do get stories occasionally to pop up like that, but most of the time, at least in my experience, it's been bikers are really respectful. Hikers that I've come across are like super nice people. No one really has any issues. It's just that the county really doesn't want bikers on these single track trails or on these on these even double track trails here and there, right? And I don't know what their latest excuse for it is nowadays, but
I don't understand it.
Growing up, I was always told, oh, it was erosion, right? And then you talk to someone else and another person tells you, oh, it's because of congestion, oh, it's because of this, or oh, it's because of that. It's like, well, what's the actual reason? Like really, what's the reason? We have 4 trails that we're allowed to ride bikes on, and we have literally thousands of miles of trails that are accessible, and maybe 10% of it's actually used. It's like, why can't we have a little more access to this stuff?
And, the only thing that I can say in that circumstance is like, get active, man. Get active in your community. Like, anybody that's listening, anybody that's watching or whatever, like, drop some money to freaking your local trail advocacy group, or like what's the national one, IMBA. Like, you can go and sign up for IMBA, and you can choose like a chapter that's local. So like my local one is like the Mother Lode Trail System, so that the money that I'm contributing is actually going to them. And when you sign up for that, you get access to this thing called Expert Voice, right?
Yeah.
And you can get like discounts for like bike products, different companies that are like up to like 50% off.
Wow.
Like, you can get like Oakley sunglasses for 50% off because you're contributing to IMBA.
Wow.
Like Continental tires, there's a bunch of other stuff on there. So it's like, I mean, it's not going to like not all the products are products that you may or may not use, but there's like, I remember, I think like Diamondback Bikes had like a 20% discount if you were part of Expert Voice, which was just being part of IMBA, you know?
Wow.
Like that's huge. Or if you like Continental tires, or like I wear those Aftershocks, those bone conducting headphones. They had like a 20% discount on those, like all kinds of shit. So it's like, first of all, just donating money to your trail advocacy. I have such a hard fucking time with that word.
Yeah.
I can't do it now. Screw it. You guys know what I'm trying to say. Like just donating a money alone, like is worth it. You know?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I'm perfect. I do trail work. I maybe do some trail gnome shit. Maybe like not all the time though, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of time. There's places that I know that you're supposed to pay to park, and I don't always freaking do it. You know what I mean? It's like you show up, you're like, you ride bikes, and you're like, yeah, whatever, nobody pays. But do your part, man. Do your part some way. And the best way of like what you were talking about, like how to change that stuff is to at least like shoot some money to them, pay the parking when you're at the place, you know, or like do what you can, like go do some trail work or something like that. But sometimes that trail gnome shit has to happen too, you know, and that's that, you know, guess there's new deer trails showing up, and sometimes they get bulldozed, and sometimes a lot of people have a lot of fun on them. So I don't know.
Well, that would be a shame if that happened.
Dude, we just had that recently. There was a area right by me out in Folsom Lake called Granite Bay.
Yeah, I've been
that
there.
All these kids had built these like dirt jumps. They were, dude, they weren't even half as good as like some of the bike parks that we have around here.
Yeah.
But they were close to their house, and they were out in the woods where nobody gave a shit about, except for somebody in the park district, and probably I'm not going to point any fingers to people that like animals, but like somebody complained, and next thing you know, they're out there bulldozing them, and it's like these kids, like there's kids that their parents were posting on Facebook, like when I told my son they bulldozed it, like he started crying. Like, really?
I'm sorry to hear that.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's sad, man.
Yeah.
You know, over a couple of dirt jumps. I mean, really?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That was you know, we saw a lot of that here in Marin. That exact incident, you know, and it was getting shared all over social media and whatnot. And, you know, I think at least to me, the most upsetting part about it, you know, it's okay. Jumps got torn down. That sucks, right? But it's this fake ideology, I guess you could say, of like, oh, we have to protect nature, right? We have to do all this, and then they take bulldozers, drive it from the parking lot or wherever they unloaded them destroyed all this nature to get them there, and then bulldoze the whole thing down, and then drove them out. It's like, what? Like, there were just some piles of dirt and a couple trails. Like, leave it alone. You know, it's like you could have at least like put like logs or something over. You didn't have to knock down like all this nature to get to one small section. It's bureaucracy at its finest, unfortunately.
And you would see, like, I read some of the people that were, you know, pro that stuff getting knocked down, and they would be like, there's kids that broke their arms, and I'm like, yeah, dude, kids broke their arms in the freaking alleyway behind our houses when I grew up in the city, dude. So like, kids break their arms like that. It sucks, but really, you know, like these kids are out there riding their bike from the time they get off of school until the sun goes down, and you're taking that away. You know, that's sad. It really is.
We've had a fair share of that stuff happen here in Marin County. I mean, so many spots. I can't even remember most of these. It's like, you know, you have so many places that you grow up riding as a kid, and you make all these memories, and you just have such a good time. You meet friends. You know, you really shape your life, you know, in some way from going and having these experiences in these places. And then all it takes is one person to just not be happy about what's going on. You know, someone has a bad day, or someone within the local government, they just shut it down. It's like all those memories are gone, you know, and all the generations afterwards don't get to experience the same things I got to experience. You know,
Yeah.
we had a pump track here, you know, not too far from where I lived. And, you know, it was, I'm not joking. I think it was around for like 20 years before I even knew about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the spot. You know, we'd get done with school, we'd pedal our bikes over there, groups of friends, you know, have fun. You know, we built jumps out there, you know, just had a great time, right? And then one day it was just something happened. Someone found it, or someone didn't like that it was there. And next thing you know, next week, bulldozers tore the whole thing down, put tan bark over it, and gone with it. And it's like, you know, 20, 30 years of history. And I remember, you know, during high school, we had a coach of ours. We did the cross country team, and the coach actually was telling us stories about how when he was a kid, they would have, you know, the pump track was there because he grew up in the area as well. And the pump track was there when he was a kid. So there had been like multiple versions of this pump track that had existed throughout time. And it just took one incident to get the whole thing flattened, gone, no more history anymore. And that's, it's never open for debate either. You know, they never ask, oh, should we or should we not? It's like, no, we're done. End of this, right? And that's, well, I mean, we all have our own opinions about it, right? We're sentimental about it, right? Because a lot of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing is to get more people out there riding, you know, get people, you know, get healthy, you know, have a good time. And when I say healthy, I mean both physically and mentally healthy, right? And, you know, get people out, make friends, you know, be a kid, enjoy life, you know, even if you're adult, be a kid as an adult, right? What's stopping you from being a kid? So that's kind of the whole purpose of why I'm doing what I'm doing. You know, I just want to see the community growing because it's brought so much good to my life that I want to, you know, pay that back in some kind of way. And
so was that the when you started like filming your brother and like you guys just were like, oh, let's make some cool videos? And I mean, because I know personally, like my journey on YouTube with my channel and stuff has not, like, maybe it's not always been the same goal when I very first started, you know? And is that really where you started at? Or is it like, well, we just wanted to like make some cool shredding shit. And then you realized that you had a voice, you know?
Well, to give you the whole story, but, you know, slightly summed up.
Yeah, let's hear it, man. We got plenty of time.
Yeah. So I was, like I was saying earlier, you know, I was always into biking. But there was, you know, are you familiar with the California Enduro series?
Yeah.
So I actually, a good buddy of mine, Mitch, and we were the filmers for a few years of that series. So we would go to each one of the races, travel around with the Enduro series or California Enduro series crew, and we would film the races, put together a video, and it would come out on Pink Bike and whatever other social media pages that they
that's
had.
rad, man.
Yeah. So we were doing that for a few years. You know, and you know, one thing led to another. You know, nothing bad at all.
Yeah.
We just kind of grew out of it, right? And you know, I ended up getting a career, right? I went down the whole, you know, oh, I got to get a job now. I was like right out of high school, and you know, I did it for a couple of years, and I was like, man, what am I going to do with my life? And you know, so I got a job, went down the whole, you know, getting a career path, right? Got into construction, and I did construction for a few years, you know, climbed the ladder in that, and, you know, just got to a point where, you know, I could have taken it to, you know, to the ideal scenario, right? Where you have a solid career, making a nice paycheck, you know, all that stuff. I was at that level, right? And I just wasn't happy. You know, I was traveling all over the place. It was really cool because I got to see a lot of the country. You know, I lived in Hawaii for a year.
Right.
You know, like all that kind of stuff. So I got to see a lot of the United States, right? And I love that, right? But I was just missing something. You know, I wasn't happy. You know, the different aspects of my life were kind of going down into the shitter, right? And so you know, one day, one of my best friends, you know, he convinced me. He's like, dude, just get back into biking. Because at that point I had ditched biking. I was just done. I hadn't ridden in like, you know, 4 years at that point, right? 5 years maybe. And he's like, dude, just get a bike, man. He's like, just get a bike. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I pulled the plug on it. I bought a Capra, 2019 YT Capra, just the base model, you know, super cool aluminum, right? just started riding with that. And, I was still working for the company that I was working for at the time. And, it just came back to me, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot how fun this was.
Right.
And, so long story short, I ended up leaving that job, and, I was like, I'm going to start, an Instagram. I'm just going to, I have this vision of where I want to go or what I want to do. And, so I started that with my brother, and, like I said, it was originally him. And, then one day we posted a video of me doing something. I don't remember. I got to look back and see what video it was, but it got a ton of hits. And that's when we knew, like, okay, there's something to this, there's something to me riding a bike. So, so we kept on posting. And next thing you know, it's like we had a video where, on one of some of our local trails, it was we posted a reel on Instagram, and ended up getting like 180 views, and it got like all these thousands of likes and stuff. And we're like, okay, there's definitely something to this. And so since then we've been posting that, and it was crazy.
180,000 probably views is what you were saying.
Oh, sorry, yeah, 180,000 views. Yeah, sorry about
that. Just for the people that are listening that weren't following along, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's what
I'm balling over here with 100 views,
Right? Yeah, just killing it.
Yeah. So 180,000 views, and we kept on posting, and in every video, that we've been posting, obviously the algorithms to social media they're always changing, or, it's hard to really adapt to it. You never really know. It's like
it's like freaking mad. There's like a mad hatter in there, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's challenging to figure it out, but we kept on posting videos, making little mini edits. Right. Just me threading the trail somewhere, and they just kept on getting views on views and likes and all that stuff. And it was actually really interesting. It took us about 6 months to get about 5 to 6 months to get to 1,000 follows on our page. And then from 1,000 to
on Instagram,
on Instagram. Yeah. From 1,000 to, I don't know what we are right now, 14,000 or almost 15,000 now. Like that's been like the last 2 months.
Wow.
Just that alone.
Blew up.
Yeah, it just blew up, and since then, I mean, we're getting hits, and here pages, and one of the things is kind of a bittersweet thing for me is, I mean, we all anybody who's on Instagram or a lot of these big social media platforms, you'll know that there's a lot of pages out there that'll just take people's content. Like I know there was that whole thing with I think it was Tom, I believe it was Tom or Bass Van Steenbergen. One of them had a really bad crash video. They were doing some kind of step down, and they crashed really bad and got super hurt. But the video of them crashing, it got taken and shared on all these different Instagram pages, and I think they actually did something and pursued and tried to get the videos taken down, because it was just uncontrollably being shared everywhere, and it just got so big, and none of the credit was going back to Tom or Bass. I don't remember exactly who it was, but so it's kind of bittersweet, right? Because on one hand, you have all these pages that are, that have 200,000, 500,000 followers that are, sharing your stuff. But then you also have to hope that they tag you in it if they're taking your content. And we've been lucky, most people who have taken our videos, they do post us in the comment section and give us credit to it. So a lot of our following base, I think, has come from that. I'm not entirely sure, but
I think some of it's word of mouth, dude. I'll tell you, one of the reasons that I feel like my channel has done well is that whenever I started, I felt like everything that I saw online wasn't the guys that I rode with. Like all the video channels or the Instagrams, like it just wasn't like the kind of group that I've been riding with for like 20 years, dude. Like, go out, don't give a fuck about climbing, like just out to have a good time, dude. If you're like, I'm 3 miles into a ride and somebody's like, dude, I'm not feeling it, let's go back to the truck and drink beer. Everybody's like, yeah, let's do it, dude. Like, like that was like, go out, bust your ass, do a 3-4 hour ride, and then go back to the truck and drink a bunch of beer, of course, with a designated driver.
Of course.
Like those were the guys that I knew, like, and I just didn't see that being represented. And I also knew that a lot of the dudes that I rode with weren't like super fit, like, stereotypical looking bikers, and I think when I started my channel, it was one of, the few YouTubers that was a bigger dude, but still riding like good trails, and like, I can definitely say that the way I'm riding now compared to when I started is way different, but I'm still a fucking big guy out there smashing rocks, and I think that gives people, because not everybody's there's a big crowd of people out there that are big like us.
Yeah.
And whatever the reason is, like whatever their reason is, like maybe it's genetics, maybe it's they like freaking beer and pizza as much as I do. Like, I don't know.
My problem.
You know what I mean? Like there's lots of reasons, but whatever that reason is, there's plenty of people out there that can relate to that. And they're not represented. And that's why people like they click with it, like there's so many guys that are like over 200 pounds that ride mountain bike. It's ridiculous, and I think that channels like ours, or social media platform, or people that are using social like us that are like bringing light to those people, like, why is it you can't be a big dude and get a cool shirt or nice shorts?
Yeah.
Like, I know people in some of these, like this industry, and it's like, well, yeah, if I sell a 4X shirt, I have to raise the price by like $20 because it's a lot more material.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't want to put that. I don't want to do that. And I'm like, telling them, like, look, man, as a big dude, I could give a shit. Like, if it's $50 for everybody else and you're telling me I have to pay $70, but I can get a good shirt, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm just throwing numbers, whatever, but
yeah,
you get what I'm saying. It's like, dude, it's like, man, what the hell am I supposed to do? Like, I don't want to ride in like crap, I want something that like works well, that's designed for what I'm doing. So either way, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think the recognition that you're getting is kind of in line with what I've saw on my own channel. It's just that there's a lot of people out there. It's an underserved community. Basically what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's really inspiring to me, because I've felt for the longest time, I mean, for the vast majority of me riding, I felt that I was somewhat alone, right? Like I was saying earlier, and to now have this platform where I have access to, so many of you guys out there that, it's like now I can hear other people's voices that are in the same situation as me. And it's like, wow, it's so cool. It's like, it's totally a two-way, win-win situation, because not only am I being able to hear about other people that, there's other dudes out there that are like, 6 foot, whatever, 300, whatever pounds. But people can see me doing whatever I'm doing on my bike, right? They're like, oh, wow, this dude's also shredding as well. It's like, oh, cool. I'm not the only one doing stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
So that's been, one of the coolest things for me about having this is just having that connection with people that I never thought that I would ever meet or talk to or any of that in my life. And it's been an absolutely incredible journey so far of me doing this. So
I think that I would imagine what you're explaining is something similar that I go through. I never put thought into like my channel having those kind of effects on people when I started. Like, if I was to be 100% honest, when I started my channel, I was like, I remember telling my friends, if I can make enough money to pay for one bike part that I was going to buy otherwise, then it's worth it. Like, to me, I was just like, it'd be cool if I could get some, like, because I have a lot of money, and it was like, mountain biking is not cheap.
Yeah.
So if I could just like do some videos about some shit that I like doing anyway, that'd be rad if I got extra bike parts. And then next thing you know, you got people sending you messages saying, man, I'm in the hospital. I've gotten a car wreck, and it's going to be watching your videos that like keep me stoked until I can get back on the bike again. Yeah. And you're like, what? Dude, what are you talking about? How did I become like an inspiration?
Yeah, that's, I mean, not to be like, oh, look, I'm tooting my own horn over here, right? But that's one of the things where, there's been so many times where I've been like, like just so unmotivated, just like, I have, I don't know if we should make another video. I don't know if this is worth it. So many times in the past, and it's those people who do message me and say stuff just like that of like, just stoked that we're doing what we're doing. And it's like, that's what gets me through it, and they tell me stories about themselves, and I hear about all this stuff, and, it's going on in people's lives, and it's just like, it's like, wow, it's really humbling, to have other people other than, directly, family and friends tell you things that are nice, right? It's like, wow, I don't even know you and you're telling me this. It's it's mind blowing, man. It's been a crazy ride so far. This, so
there's some pressure to it though too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's
how you dealing with that?
Well, there's so those times where you go to the bike parks and you see a really big feature and you're like, should I hit this for the video? Okay, I'm gonna hit it for the video.
Yeah.
And it's there's always
you let it push you a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I try to keep it fun for myself. That's the main thing, because one of the things back when I was working in construction and going, doing my thing back then, it went from, feeling like, oh, I'm on top of the world, I'm doing all this and, getting so much done, right, to, wow, I really hate my life. Like, what am I doing right now, right? And that's where I want to prevent it to go. And, we've, one of the things I haven't mentioned yet, but one of my closest friends, he was actually, and this is one of the reasons why I was kind of already slightly in the bike industry at some point in the past. But one of my closest friends, he was doing the whole Enduro racing. He had, a plethora of big name sponsors. He was going to all the races, Enduro World Series, all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
And he was awesome, right? And he just got so deep into the industry, it's just stopped becoming fun for him. He felt like that pressure from sponsors to, you have to perform, you have to have a super rigorous, a schedule. You have to be, eating this, you have to be doing that, work out at this time, go to this race, travel over here. It was nonstop for him, and it really wore him out. And one day he just, told all his sponsors, sorry, I'm done. And it never turned back. And I'm still, to this day, I'm trying to get him on a bike. So if you're listening, you better get on a bike after hearing this.
I would hope so, man. Because I'll tell you what, there's a certain part. I feel like if you're a biker at any time in your life, even if it's when you're 7 and you just like rode down the street and you felt the air through your hair, like any time in your life, if you get back on a bike again when you're an adult, it brings that back. Yeah. And aside from bringing it back, there's like an endorphin release or a stress release. It's like yoga, man, or something. It's like I call it single track therapy. I'm sure somebody else has called it that in the past. I don't have like the trademark for it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, man, it gets my head straight. It really does. And when I can't ride, I don't do well with life because I don't have a vent. You know what I mean? Like, that's the best vent that I have. And I would hope that somebody that rode like that in the past wouldn't let it go, because I mean, you know what it feels like to be in it, and to love it. Yeah. To circle back to like what we were talking about a second ago, though, with the pressure, like, there's a lot of demands to running the channel, and or the what do you call Instagram? Do you just call it a page? Is that what you call it?
I just call it a page. Yeah.
Everybody calls it something different. Like sometimes when they're like, "Oh, this is my page," or I'm like, "Why do you call it a page?" Like, because I'm an IT guy, so I think about it like a web page. I'm like, "That's not okay." Like, anyways, so like to like running some social, like you have this like commitment level that you feel, and sometimes, at least for me, that pressure to post will sometimes like push me away from posting, and then because it's making me stop posting, then or like not wanting to edit, or you know what I mean, like then what happens is, because I'm not editing, then I start feeling more pressure, and it's like a fucking snowball just going down like a ski slope, and it's tough. It's tough to deal with. I can tell you, at least from my perspective, there's been countless times that I've been like, this is not worth it. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, you post something new or you get some email or some comment from somebody and it makes you realize like, wow, like I'm really doing something here, you know? And it's easy to judge yourself against your peers. You know, you're like, oh, I only have 14,000. You know, you're like, if I had 50,000 like that guy, you know, maybe I'd be happy about it, you know. And I guarantee you, when you get to 50,000, you're going to be like, oh, if I had 100,000, you know, like, I don't know. At least for me, I'm never happy. I thought for the longest time that 10,000 subscribers on YouTube was really going to be like something that I would be stoked about. And when it finally happened, it was like, I don't even think I hit 10,000 and I was already focusing on 20.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't even get to enjoy hitting 10,000 because it was like 9,000. I was like, dude, if I hit 20, oh my God. You know?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man?
No, that's the thing that, you know, I don't know if have you ever been on TikTok before?
I use TikTok as a consumer, but I really haven't been able to figure out if I want to like put my brand there and like put time into it.
Yeah.
I think you're younger, so it definitely like 100% makes sense for you. And you have like good like clips. You have really good clips. Like like I seen the one where you like let all the I see it on Instagram. I'm assuming you put it on TikTok though too, like where you let all the air out of your shock.
Yeah.
And you're like riding your bike down the road. Like what was there was like a gimmick to it though. It was like
there was the Chameleonaire song, Riding Dirty.
Yeah.
It was all just like, it was like, look, I'm this fat ass and like I'm on a bike and this is what happens when I ride a bike. Like that was
like when you borrow your friend's bike or something, it was like you sat on it and like suspensions just slammed and like dude, that's hilarious. And that is like that's good for TikTok because you don't need to be a biker to think that's funny.
Yeah.
You know, and I personally don't know what my shtick would be on TikTok, like how I would get TikTok views. Because you know as well as I do, like every platform has a different thing that drives it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I at least I noticed for what I post. What's your thought?
Well, I have some very strong opinions about TikTok.
Let's hear it. What do you got?
But as a business move, I guess you could say I did you know conform, and I am posting on TikTok. It's not my favorite platform by a long shot. You know, funny enough, I really don't like social media. But you know, it obviously has its benefits, right? Getting out to people and inspiring and doing whatever it is we're all doing, right?
Yeah.
But kind of the way that the platform is set up and the types of things that are on that platform, I don't necessarily agree with. And there's a lot of really weird stuff on TikTok. But
definitely.
But it, you know, it blows my mind because like I was saying earlier, you know, on Instagram, you know, it took us, you know, 6 months or whatever, or I don't know how to get to 1,000 followers or whatever, right? Or but to get like on Instagram, it took us so long to get to our first 1,000 views on a video. TikTok, first video I post, it was like, I don't know, 15, 20,000 views. And I'm just like, what is like, what? Like my mind was blown. I didn't understand it. And I don't know.
You think that they like don't actually report like correct numbers on there?
Yeah.
My daughter is 18 years old, so we talk a lot about TikTok and social and stuff like that. And we had this conversation just like a week ago, and she's like, it's crazy. On TikTok, you could have 60 million followers and nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
And on YouTube, if you have 60 million followers, there's a good chance that people that don't even watch your content know who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you could say something like Mr. Beast and people are like, that aren't even like YouTube people. You know what I mean? They're like, oh yeah, I know who that guy is. I watched one of his videos. It's pretty funny. You know, but it's like you could have 60 million on TikTok, no freaking clue. Nobody knows who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was saying too that like the way that they monetize over there is like kind of ridiculous. Like you're not really making anything off of it.
No, it's strange, you know. And then when you really dive down the rabbit hole with it, you know, I came across this guy. I don't remember what his name was. So sorry if you guys follow him or whatever. But some dude I remember looking, he had like 6 million followers on TikTok, right? And this dude was getting hits. I mean, every video he was making had like minimum a million views on it. Just he was balling, right?
Right.
And
killing
his videos, like, not to be criticizing or judgmental or anything, but his videos consisted of him basically just walking around, you know, a skate park or a bike park or whatever it was, just commentating what he was seeing around him. And that's how I interpreted it. I mean, of course, you know, you have the newer generations that see things differently than, you know, even my generation or your generation or whatever, right? So I don't really know the whole. I didn't understand the point of it, but he was bowling, and I was like, wow, this is what it takes to be popular on TikTok. Like, it blew my mind.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I came from a very, more traditional type of, cinematography, right? You know, I said earlier, I did videos for the California Enduro series, and I did a lot of freelancing stuff on my own, doing videos for just random, people, some people, some people other, right? And so I come from a background of like, okay, a video should consist of a start, a beginning, a middle, an end, and then in between you have like a storyline and so on and so forth. But then you go on a platform like TikTok, or a lot of, a lot of the internet is moving this direction. And it's like just 7-second, 10-second long clips of just something that's totally random.
Yeah.
I just don't understand what it is. So
yeah,
I think it's a generational thing. I'm sure you could ask, someone who's like 13, 14 years old, and I'm sure they could explain it to you, or at least attempt to, but it's a disconnect that I have with it. That's why I initially asked about it, like, kind of what your opinion was on the whole, TikTok.
Yeah, I honestly, like, I see the value. I really, I would like to put some time into it. I really would, but to be honest, like right now, it's just I still have a full-time job, and posting to YouTube and doing a podcast, and half the time I make clips out of my podcast, half the time I don't, like I try to like make sure I take enough pictures for Instagram that I can post every day, and sometimes I don't, and like I got enough shit going on. If I try to add TikTok on top of it, it's like I don't see myself having the ability to like I would rather do a couple of things good than like a bunch of them bad.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think the thing for me on TikTok would be like just make some clips. But I don't even do clips on Instagram. I personally, and it's just my own decision, that I only post pictures on Instagram. And every once in a while I'll do a video, and that's just my own personal decision. I think that, like, you do a lot of video clips. Yeah. I think that's great. I wish I could do that. And there's friends of mine that have like told me that they wanted to get into YouTube, and I always almost try to steer everybody that wants to get into YouTube to Instagram. And I tell them, go ride, go film with the GoPro, just like you see me doing, but take the 60 seconds out that's fucking rad and post that.
Yeah.
And you'll be much happier with your life than trying to make a 15-minute edit of that ride. And more than likely, you'll actually be successful, because I'm sorry, it takes a long time to learn how to make a 15-minute edit that's good to watch.
Yeah.
I did a lot of shitty videos. I don't even know how the first 1,000, 5,000 subscribers I got. I don't even know how I got them. The first 1,000, I'm like, I don't even get. The first 100, what the fuck were you guys thinking? Like those were really shitty videos. At least when I go back and watch them, But obviously, I was connecting with somebody. But I think that when I tell people that are interested into it, like, just go do that. Like, everybody knows, like, oh, that was a sick rock roll. Yeah, you can take that 10 seconds and put it on Instagram. You're going to get people following you and watching it because of that. Where like making a YouTube video, you have to build a thumbnail that's actually going to get them to click on it.
Yeah.
You have to have a title that if the thumbnails may be doing it, the title will actually talk them into it. Then you have to be interesting enough that they want to watch it for long enough to get past the advertisement that you want in there. So if you're monetized, you know what I mean? Like there's so many things that have to happen to be successful at YouTube compared to Instagram. And I think that Instagram's a great stepping stone to get there. So like, I have a buddy that's always teeters on it. And I'm like, dude, start there and you'll learn everything that you need. You'll learn how to edit. You'll learn how to use those programs. You'll learn how to upload and tag and whatever else you need to do. Get shots. And then next thing you know, you'll be ready.
Exactly.
So with all that being said, are you going to focus more on YouTube?
So I'm slowly starting to come back into it. We recently had I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jensen USA, the online.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so we recently became part of the Jensen USA affiliate program. So
that's awesome.
We're now affiliates of Jensen USA. You know, we have our own link and everything. You know, do the whole click my link so I get a certain percentage of the sales or whatever. Right. So we're doing all that, right? And you know, my brother and I we've been kind of brainstorming, and you know, we have a few ideas of where we want to go for more actually, you know, put together videos rather than just some small, you know, 15-second Instagram reels or whatever that may be, right? So we're you're probably going to be seeing more YouTube stuff from us in the future. And you know, for the longest time we were kind of in a slump on YouTube, and that was kind of my motivating, you know, my loss of motivation, right? You know, we were getting like, you know, 50 views per video, and it was like, oh man, I'm putting so much time, like what you were saying earlier, right? You're putting like hours and hours into these videos, you know, and edit them, and then it's like, oh damn, like only 50 views, like shit. So it was definitely hard to, you know, continue that motivation to make them, right? But now
my best advice to you right there, dude, best advice to you, because I did click on some of your YouTube videos. My best advice to you is think of your thumbnail as your pickup line.
Yeah.
Like you have 1 to 5 seconds as somebody's scrolling through that list, or they're glancing over to the right side of their screen, and they see 10 pickup lines on the right, if they're on their computer, right? They see 10 pickup lines sitting over there, 10 pictures. You have to have the one that they're actually going to divert their eye from the picture to the title, or just the picture itself says, I want to click on that.
Yeah.
I'm not really good at this, but there's some guys that are like PCPOV, his thumbnails. It doesn't, you could put 100 thumbnails on my monitor and I'd key in on one of his.
Yeah.
Like Seth is good at it, you know, like I try to look at those and like learn, but that's the biggest thing that I try to tell anybody in YouTube, because if you don't get them to click on your video, it doesn't matter how fucking good your video is.
Yeah.
Your video could be like the next thing that's going to change the world. Like, I don't know, whatever Bill and Ted did in their first like adventure, right? You know, like it could be that good, right? Like, but it could be the polio vaccine, you know, I don't know, you know, like, but if you don't get them to click on it, it's all wasted. And that is that I think for me, like, that's what's really hard. Like, one of my favorite YouTube videos has not done well, and I put so much time into that video. So much B-roll, so much like getting people to act for it, and like it was like a skit kind of video, and it was just it sucks when you put like that much of your heart into something and then you watch it like
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, the direction we're going to take it, you know, we've been doing mostly like GoPro videos and showing like POV type stuff, but you know, going forward, I think we're going to switch it up a little bit. You know, we have some ideas. So that's one of those things. I'll send you some of the videos when I want to post them, but they're going to be different. It's some stuff that I haven't seen on YouTube yet, especially not in the bike industry. So hopefully that gets some traction here. So, but I think some people will definitely like it, enjoy it. So
I think it doesn't even matter if it's different. Like, sometimes people are like worried about starting a channel or whatever because they're like, I need to come up with something new. Everything is going to be new because it's going to be your perspective. You know, like at the end of the day, Like there was people watching my stuff. Like I said, it was some like it wasn't like it was quote unquote better than somebody else's, but it's different and it's something that's going to relate with that particular individual.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, I think as your channel grows or your following grows on whatever platform, like it gets easier to get other people for whatever reason. Like, it's like that snowball rolling down the hill or whatever,
exactly.
you know, like,
yeah.
Like I don't feel like, and no offense to like Brian, but like BKXE's videos now, yeah, there's some better quality to it and whatever, but at the same point, like it's still kind of like the same kind of content that he was putting out, you know, 2 years ago, let's say. And now he probably goes to sleep and wakes up in the morning and has like 3,000 more subscribers than he did like 2-3 years ago when he first started, whatever it was. I mean, 4 years ago when he started, he could put out the same video and he'd go to sleep and wake up and have 10 new subscribers. You know what I mean? Like if he does a bike review, I think one of his first videos was a bike review. That was like one of the things that like kicked him off. Like if he did that video today, he's going to go to sleep tomorrow or go to sleep and wake up and he's going to have 5,000 more subscribers, you know? Whereas in the beginning, you get, it doesn't go that way, you know? And I think, are you catching the drift of what I'm trying to say?
Oh, absolutely.
And 100% no, not throwing any shade at Brian. Like he deserves everything he's getting. I'm just trying to use him as an example that people would understand, you know?
Yeah, he makes some awesome videos. I really like his content. I've actually been watching him for I can't even remember when I started watching him, but he's actually been a really big inspiration for me, especially recently. I don't know if you've been watching his most recent videos, but they just bought like a plot of land somewhere up in the Sierras, and they're building trails out there. It's like like what? Like that's so sick.
Yeah, the guy I just spent 2 days riding in a place that I can't mention. And the guy that I was riding with was the person that he bought that property with.
Oh, that's awesome.
Aaron from MTB and Adventures. So, yeah, dude, that's rad. It's super rad that they're doing that. Totally stoked for them, and I'm excited to see it happen. And I actually am gonna maybe get my first chance to build a trail that's legit. So that'd be fun.
Oh, that's up in Folsom area.
No, Aaron was telling me on the property that he's like, dude, we're going to give you some spot and you're going to be able to like build what you want to build. And
oh, that's so cool.
I can't say that I've built anything legal before. So.
Yeah.
I've done trail work. I guess you could say that's legal. So
yeah. Dude, that is awesome though.
Yeah. So I think I'm super stoked about that and seeing kind of where it goes or whatever. But nonetheless, so I want to ask you, as a bigger rider, what is one of the things that you think is like most important in your like setup and your like how you ride or like what you ride?
Yeah. Well, other than like the main things, you know, having a solid frame, and you know, it's kind of hard to go wrong nowadays. I mean, bike brands are so amazingly built nowadays that you know, I mean, it's not like there's a specific company that's bad. It's like it doesn't really. I mean, unless I'm sure other people oppose what I'm saying, but I don't think there's any bad bike brands today. But other than that, you know, I'm really keen on the type of tires I ride. That's kind of my saving grace a lot of the times. You know, up here in where I ride, you know, in Marin County, you know, it's super wet and greasy in the winter if it rains. But it's also in the summertime extremely dusty and super rocky, right? So I'm always finding a balance between having a tire that's grippy enough to hold me through the winter and also be useful in the summer for me. Because I mean, like I said, I do everything kind of on a budget, so I like to, you know, buy tires that are like downhill casing, right? You know, downhill case tires tend to be a little bit cheaper, at least in my experience. So I'll do, you know, downhill casing tires on my all mountain bike, on my downhill bike, or whatever it may be. And then I use that year round. I'm kind of a one and done kind of guy when it comes to tires. I mean, I do a variety of tires, but I ride those tires no matter what season it is. And I get used to them. So right now I'm on, I really like WTB tires. I mean, local, right? I got to represent, right?
Yeah.
So they're WTB's from I believe it's Mill Valley.
Okay.
They're which is here in Marin County.
Yeah,
Don't quote me on that, but they're in Marin County. I know I've been to I've seen their headquarters before, right?
Yeah.
So I like to run the WTB Verdict. That's probably one of my favorite tires right now.
Is that front or back?
In the front,
Okay.
and then I use the Convict in the rear, and that to me is an awesome setup because the Verdict is a little bit of a softer tire, so it's able to hook up pretty well, and then the Convict in the rear is a super hard tire, and I the way I ride, I do. I'm sorry for all the people working on trails and stuff, but I do like to slide around a bit. So
yeah, yeah, get skeezy.
Yeah. So the Convict in the rear is it's a perfect setup, right? So, and it's super tough. I mean, I've put those things through a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
And they hold up pretty well. And those are so tires. That's kind of where I'm at. I'll run, anywhere. If I'm dirt jumping, I'll put more air in the tires, right? I'll run 40, 45 if I'm jumping, and I'll bring it all the way down because I have cush core, right? I'll bring it down to 30 PSI sometimes if I'm doing trail riding or downhill or whatever, stuff like that. Another thing is, suspension's a really, really big one for me. And when I say big, I mean the amount of air I have, because I don't do any other adjustments other than just put some air in it and leave it.
So you're air, not a coil guy?
So I really like coil. It's I see so many benefits for someone of my size riding coil, but the only problem, one of the things that I kind of found out the hard way is, it's with the shortages of parts. If you buy a coil shock, you also have to buy the shock, or the coil itself in a lot of cases.
The spring, yeah.
Yeah, the spring. And it's been really hard for me to find the proper spring weights for myself.
I really want to try one. I know a bunch of other guys. They're big dudes too. And they all tell me, man, you got to ride a coil. And I'm afraid to pull the trigger because it seems so expensive. First of all, for the some of them, and it's then you have to buy the coil, and it's or the spring, and you're like, well, what if that's not the right one? Then I got to buy another one. And it's not like there's a go in and try one for a couple rides kind of deal, you know?
Yeah.
And I always feel like I just have to do it 100% thinking that it's going to play out well. Go out and buy this shock and a spring under the idea that it's going to be better.
Yeah.
Right? And that's hundreds of dollars, right? Or if you were to buy a push, thousands of dollars. It's man, I just wish that I could borrow one for a little bit or something like that. Take it down my favorite runs, see if I actually dig it, and then buy it. It's just so difficult for me to pull that trigger. And even though I do spend a lot of money on my bikes and stuff like that, I buy what I know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I feel confident buying another Santa Cruz bike because I know that everyone that I've had so far I like. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yo, absolutely. And I've had kind of a similar situation. When I got my downhill bike recently, it came with I think it was a 300-pound coil on there.
Yeah.
And it's the 300-pound coil is meant for someone who weighs 150 pounds. And I'm double that weight. So it was a struggle. I ended up spending something almost $300 just finding coils. I'd see something on eBay, and I used, I don't know if you guys ever used the websites. It's called spring calculator, MTB spring calculator.
Yeah, I have to check that out.
Yeah, that's super useful, and it's pretty accurate from what I can, what I've been able to figure out. But finding the spring that it tells you that you should be running for your weight and your height and how you like to ride, it's so hard. So I was spending, every time a coil would come up somewhere where it would be, whether it's Jensen or eBay or the local shop or whatever, I would buy it. I'd okay, I got to buy this. So I have all these coils sitting around that don't actually work for me, because I was every time I'd buy one, it was okay, I can use it for a week until I can find another one, right? So it was just constant going and buying, and then okay, now it's another one. So I had like I don't know, like almost $300 worth of coils just sitting around for one shock. So that's kind of the thing, and you know, in a perfect world, coil shocks, at least for me, like I would run every bike with a coil shock. But nowadays, since it's kind of hard to find the right parts and you know, things are not in stock and whatever the situation may be, I think it's a little more practical for at least myself to be on an air shock. Because you can
see, this is the only thing I want to say about that, and I want to hear your opinion.
Yeah.
When I was 300, I was really topping out my shock. Like, I feel like when those guys ask me about, hey, does this frame work for somebody our size? If they tell me they're over 300, I'm usually like, I've never ridden a coil, but you should probably look into it. Like, because I knew, like, most of my shocks, like 300 PSI was what they claimed to be the top. You know, so like if I was putting in 300 in, I was like, okay, well, this is it. Like, fork wise, buy any fucking fork you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I never feel like I'm ever concerned about pressure on the fork, but the shock, definitely. I don't know. What's your experience?
Oh, pretty much the same thing. You know, like,
okay.
Luckily, my all mountain bike or my enduro bike, it has 170 mils of travel in the rear. So I do have a little bit of extra wiggle room, I guess you could say, right? But I'll tell you right now, with my weight, I probably couldn't ride anything lower than like 150 mils of travel and get away with it, you know, because even with 170, I'm getting pretty close to the end, you know. And there are times where I'm definitely bottoming out. If I send some jump or if I do some drop or something, you know, I'm probably going to bottom it out. And so there's that to it, right? And that's kind of why, you know, in a perfect world, I would definitely be on a coil, because the coil I noticed with my 2S, my downhill bike, you know, it's not the right coil. I'm supposed to have like a 500 or I think 550 or something like that coil, but I'm running a 450, but I haven't bottomed it out yet, you know, and I've been sending some stuff with it. So there's definitely responsiveness, and you know, I'm not an expert on this stuff, you know. I just ride it and I like it. If I don't like it, I change it, right?
100%.
But you know, I've definitely seen better results for my size with a coil versus an air shock. I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's like how much effort do you want to put into it to actually find the right coil setup, and that's where I think it's not really for everybody, you know, to run a coil shock on their bikes. But yeah,
I'd really like to try it. I really would. I mean, there's so many guys that I've talked to that just, they've spoken so highly about it. And I don't know, maybe one of these days I'll just pull the trigger and give it a shot.
Yeah.
Or somebody in the comments mentioned this place called Full Flow Suspension there in Auburn, which is kind of close to me. And
cool.
They're saying that he has a lot of stuff up there. Maybe I could, I never thought, or I've thought about reaching out to him before. And he's actually been on the podcast in the past, and the guy Mike over there. So if you guys don't know him or of him, definitely check out Full Flow Suspension.
Yeah,
Mikey knows his shit.
You know, one of the things that's kind of through this process of figuring out the whole coil situation, it's like, why don't the companies all get together and they're like, hey, let's all make one size coil? Like, why does there have to be like 6 or 7 different size coils? Like, I mean, like diameter wise, right?
Oh yeah.
Why is there 2 or 2.5? Why is there 3 and 3.5 and 2.75? Like, why can't it just be one size? Leave it and just make different lengths of it. Like,
I bet you it has to do with. I can quickly come up with. There's probably some math reasons.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I 100% understand what you're saying, and I want to get behind it, but I don't. There's like some like little OCD part in the back of my mind that's like,
yeah.
I bet you if it's like a little bit wider, like the way that compression feels, even though it's like the same spring rate, maybe feels different, or some like transfer of power shit, some crap that we're not thinking about. Usually that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, I can hear already all the keyboards clicking away from all the engineers in the comment section.
Yeah, right. Totally. You know, I want to ask you this because I recently bought a DJ, and because like you said, there's a shortage. I think mine's coming in like November.
Oh wow.
So why is it that you say you don't like riding? Like you said, you didn't feel like totally comfortable. Is it just? Talk about that. Let's hear that.
So I started off, back when I was saying when we went to Whistler the first time ever when I was a kid, right? A couple bikes in my history of biking, I actually was leaning more towards dirt jumping and BMX than I was towards mountain biking. I didn't really get fully into mountain biking until maybe about 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, something like that, right? So I kind of grew up doing dirt jumping and whatnot. Somewhere along the lines, I went from being totally comfortable on a dirt jumper to just not at all comfortable on a dirt jumper. And I think it was that, I just got too used to having full suspension, having a nice, plush, all mountain bike, hitting trails, hitting jump trails as well and stuff like that, where we're going back to that rigid feeling, that rigid geometry, super small amount of travel in the front. Was a problem for me. Also, I have had I've been lucky enough to sit on a couple other modern DJs, and I mean I'm 6'4", and like I could totally use them. I'd have to get riser bars and all that stuff. But it just feels weird. It's like in my mind it would take too long for me to get used to it. Then it would be worth just riding my my cap, just take my capper out in the jumps. I can hit all these jumps with my capper. I may as well just do it on that, right?
Right.
But it's kind of a laziness thing, It's like I could totally ride a dirt jumper, but how much effort do I want to put into actually relearning how to do that? Right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And for me, like I used to ride BMX a lot when I was younger, so part of me buying the DJ was kind of like reconnecting with that part of my life, and whenever I had a Chameleon. Originally I bought a large. I'm at that height that's like I'm 6'2".
Okay.
So most bike companies tell me to be on an extra large.
Yeah.
And I think because of my BMX background, I prefer the large just because it feels a little tighter underneath me.
Yeah.
And so when I bought my Chameleon, the idea was to use it at the dirt jump and like also like kind of reconnect with my BMX stuff, right? I bought a large, and long story short, I decided I wanted a carbon frame. And when I bought the carbon frame, the guy at the bike shop screwed me because he goes, "Oh, you want an extra large, right?" And I was like, well, maybe if it was an extra large, it'd be a little more stable on the downhill. And like every time in my entire fucking life that I've bought an extra large frame, I hate it.
Really?
But I always like somewhere along the line, like I'm like, well, maybe it'd be better. And I bought that carbon Chameleon in extra large, and I friggin' hated it. Yeah. And one of the things though was like when I would go to like the dirt jumps, the local bike park here, it just felt too big, and it didn't feel right. And that's kind of why I bought this dirt jumper, because I was like, I want to like be able to ride some street like I did when I was younger and go to the dirt jumps and maybe feel more comfortable with the bike than like a full on like BMX, because I feel like at 6'2", man, like you're 6'4", like you were like a praying mantis on like a circus bike, right? Or like a big bear, you know what I mean? Like a big bear from the circus on, like this little tiny little thing underneath us. So like at least the DJ, some of them you can get in like a longer size,
Yeah.
So I figured I would try that. And worst case scenario, I'll just sell it,
Sell it at a profit.
Yeah, especially now, somebody else that doesn't have to wait 6 months to get it, they'll pay the same price that I did,
Exactly. Yeah. No, I love dirt jumping. It's one of those things where I want to get on a modern dirt jump bike and get used to it, because I totally see the value in it. It's a whole other discipline of biking. And I'm lucky actually. Around here we have a few places to ride, both skate parks, dirt jumps, both like actual dirt jump parks, but also some stuff that people don't know about. I guess.
Yeah.
Some people know about, right? But So we do have a good variety of that stuff around here. So I think it's one of those things that, as time goes on, I definitely want a dirt jumper, like a proper modern dirt jumper. Cause the one I'm riding right now, it's good, and it's the one I grew up with, but it's just too, it's kind of outdated. So, not that much changes in the dirt jumper, world, but, but it's definitely one of those things where I want a tapered head tube. That's one of the more noticeable things.
Why does that matter?
It just feels more stiff. Like the modern dirt jumps bikes that I've ridden, they all have tapered head tubes versus the ones that are just the 1 1/8 drive or whatever the older version of it is. Like it's a significant difference especially for someone as big as I am. I mean, I can see on my dirt jumper right now. I can see the fork just like flexing. Over all the jumps. So there's always that thought in the back of my mind of like, oh man, is it gonna break?
Yes, today gonna be the day.
Am I gonna boost this jump and the next thing I know, I have no front wheel? So that's kind of one of those things where I think I'm just gonna use my all mountain bike until I actually build up a proper dirt jumper with modern parts, modern wheels as well, and really just take that to a different level that I've been wanting to take it for a long time. But I think that's really the factor for me where it's like, I just not having the right tools, I guess, is the main thing. And it kind of contradicts what I said at the beginning of our conversation, where it's like it doesn't matter what bike you are, and it doesn't.
I understand where you're coming from, man.
But it does help. It's it's a mental thing to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need a hammer to fucking drive a nail, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you can do it with a rock, but it sure is a lot easier with a hammer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Use the right tools.
Yeah.
So you're a sender, man. I like anybody that's on your Instagram, like you're boosting some big jumps and gaps and like doing it with flair and whatnot. But do you like the technical, like the chunky stuff too, or is like air all you like?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely do like the chunky stuff. That's one of the things where I want to start doing more videos of, because there's so much of that stuff around here that we just haven't had a chance to film it yet. We have so many projects that are in front of us that we have like written down of like, we just gotta get to it at some point. Yeah. But I definitely do. I do lean more towards the more flowy, jumpy type of trail riding, right? But in Marin we have so much stuff, even up in Tahoe, there's as you probably know, right, there's so much stuff up there that's rock sections and whatnot. We have Pacifica. I don't know if you've ever been to Pacifica before.
I've ridden down there, Crack and Mile, all that stuff.
So on Mile, that's a well-known trail. It's not secret, so don't go crazy for me for saying the name, you guys. But it's there's a section on it called the Waterfall, and it's a pretty intense little rock slab. And when I say little, I mean it's pretty big. So I do really I enjoy that kind of stuff. It does scare me more than jumps do in some strange way. But
and I am 100% opposite of you.
Really,
I'm terrified of a gap, but like the riding that I did this last weekend is just nothing but extremely gnarly rock roll, like high consequence kind of stuff like that. And I am 100% at home on that. And you could put a 2-foot gap in front of me and I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I should do that. I'm like if I'm doing a 3-foot drop, like that's between 3 and 4 foot is when I start freaking out, but like you could just put me on some crazy chunky shit and I'm in love. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to hear another person's perspective. I guess we're all different, right?
Yeah. I'm over here. I'm like, I'm itching for Canada to let us back in their country, and for me to go back to Whistler or hit up Kamloops. I don't know if you've ever seen the bike ranch out there. Yeah. Oh, dude, I've been fiending to ride Fistful of Dollars, that big jump trail. It's just, that stuff looks like it's built so well, and I have to hit it. I know it'll be different. You get there and you're like, holy shit, this is a lot bigger than it looks in the video. So I fully expect that to happen, but I at least want to hit some of the features out there.
So are you doing big rides? I'm gonna have to ask because like, you know, people are gonna assume you're a big dude. You're not doing like lots of elevation, lots of miles. What do your rides look like?
Yeah, so because I've been only, I've been stuck with a downhill bike. It's been a lot of park riding recently. So that's kind of been, the main attention from me, right? But I before when I had my old mountain bike, and now that I have it again, we'd pump out like, I don't know, 2,000 feet of elevation, one climb,
Yeah.
Sometimes stuff like that, right?
Dude, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being on the park all day, dude. Like everybody has their thing. I'm just asking. That's the only reason. And I'm not trying to fat shame you. Like we can't like. Can two fat people fat shame each other? Can we do that? I don't know. Is that allowed?
Hey, no shame over here, man. I know. I got this going on. Right. So I gotta get more out and do some cross country rides, right? So
yeah. I don't know, man. I lost all this weight, dude. I've gone from a solid C cup down to a B cup. I'm like, I don't know, man. Eat movies like losing its shit, dude. I'm gonna lose subscribers. They're gonna be like, hey, I was here for the fat guy.
Yeah. Well, are you doing anything particular to lose weight?
I'll be honest with you. This is the thing. I've gained and lost a lot of weight in my life, and every time it really just comes down to how many calories you eat versus how many calories you burn.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what way, like, yes, there's going to be some science and there's going to be like the keyboard clicking going on. But if it's keto or vegan or low calorie or fucking the root beer diet, like whatever it is that gets you to lower your the caloric intake, to be lower than the amount of calories that you're burning, you're going to lose weight.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, I essentially count calories. I know like how to eat well, and I know how to definitely like, you don't get to be 300 and not know how to eat shitty. So like I know both ends of the spectrum, and realistically it's just like putting a lot of riding in, working out, because muscle burns more energy than fat, and just burning more than I'm eating. And when you're trying to do that, you can't, like, you have to make wise decisions on the calories that you take in, right? Yeah, so absolutely. Let's just say that you have enough time to burn 5,000 calories in a day, right? So I mean, you could eat 5,000 calories and not lose any weight. That'd be fun, but if you want to lose weight, then you have to eat or drink less than that. So it's like, like beer, there's like a good portion of last year, there's been, I'm not going to drink for the next month, because that's like, I'm a big dude, and like 3 beers doesn't get me going. It's like fucking 8, and 200, 300 calories a piece. And I'm saying 8 is where I'm like, hey, I'm feeling good now. That's not where I'm stopping if we're having a good time, like, I am drinking in one night of partying with some people eating like 3 days, like, so like, you have to be wise with how you're going to take those calories in. And realistically, that's what I do, is I just focus on trying to eat as well as I can and burn as many calories as I can. And, I mean, I lost like 60 pounds. I still want to lose another.
Nice. Congrats.
I've kind of bounced up a little bit. I lost 60. I'm at about 50 pounds I've lost right now. The last couple of weeks, actually the last month or so, I've just got to a point where I was like being too Nazi with myself for too long. And I needed to have like kind of like a little reset, have some fun for a while, drink some beers, eat some cheesecake, eat all the chicken wings that I want to eat. And then I'm planning on locking back down here in the next week or two, and trying to lose that I want to get down to 220, which for me, I am really happy with who I am at 220. And kind of going back to something I was thinking about while we were talking earlier, is like, even when I consider myself skinny, I'm still like way bigger than what shit's engineered for.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm skinny at 220, I'm still like needing cush core. I'm still at the top of my suspension. I'm still, you know what I mean? Like
I know exactly what you mean.
So like, I mean, and you're tall too. So like, I mean, 6'4", you could be 250 and pretty thin at 6'4". You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I'm sure at 300, you didn't look like what I looked at 300, you know, like, and that's only 2 inches of difference. But I got a buddy that's like 6'5", and him and I were weighing in at the same thing at one, you know, at a certain point. I was like, why do you look like that? You're only 3 inches taller, you know? Like, that's bullshit. Wish I could get a little taller, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, being, you know, lighter. I mean, well, first of all, congratulations on the weight loss. That's
Thank
awesome.
You.
You know, that's amazing. You know, that's where I'm heading right now. You know, I'm trying to get down that path, right? But
have you watched my videos?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. I've heard so many people say that it's been super inspiring to watch. So
it's incredible, you know, and I would assume that, you know, it's a lot easier not to ride, right? Now that you don't have so much weight behind, right?
So I struggle with this, honestly, because I feel like I'm riding better now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, part of it is because I lost the weight, but I really feel like it's because I've been riding so much more.
Mm-hmm.
So like I ride between 5 and 7 days a week at this point.
That's
like
awesome.
Legit rides. Whereas before it was like maybe one weekend day, maybe one midweek ride.
Yeah.
That would be like most weeks. A good week would be like 2 like decent rides.
Okay.
And so like I struggle with, yes, the weight loss helps. Yes, I can throw the bike around better. But I'm like more fit. So like I know that I could have been working out like I've been working out. And I could have been riding as much as I have been, but also still just drinking as much beer and eating as many chicken wings as I wanted to, and like not lost any weight, and I'd be like way stronger and a way better rider. And that's the part that I struggle with. Like, I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I will say, yes, I feel better when I'm riding.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm fucking handling shit way better than I was.
Yeah.
Yes, I noticed a difference in the gear. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can, my suspension's definitely reacting better to me than before, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. I think you get what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
I totally do. You know, I've been, you know, that's kind of my goal right now is let me just put it straight up. I'm always going to be a big dude no matter what. Like it's going to be impossible for me to ever actually shrink as a person, but I do have a solid layer of some blubber, I guess you could say, right?
Right.
You know, that I could do without, right?
Yeah.
But for me, you know, the motivation behind it is that, you know, I want to be able to film more than what I'm doing now, right? And I do feel myself being held back. In some ways, right? You know, I want to be able to pull bar spins. You know, I want to be able to backflip one day and do all this stuff, right? I want to be known as the dude who's like just huge, right? Like the 6'4" whatever guy, you know, weighs all this. You know, he's huge. He's, you know, whatever. And he's out there sending stuff. You know, like I want to continue that as being the person that I am, right? And
do you know who Jeff Lanowski is?
Who?
Jeff Lanowski.
I don't know.
Look him up, dude. He's been a professional trials rider for years, and I want to say Jeff is like 6'4" or 6'5". He clocks in at like 220 and badass rider.
Wow.
So he would be some inspiration to you.
Yeah, you know who was a huge inspiration to me growing up. Unfortunately, he's passed away now, but Kelly McGarry.
Oh,
that guy, man. I remember I saw him once. I believe it was Sea Otter. I mean, years ago. But the dude was super tall.
Yeah.
I think he was. I don't know. Don't quote me on this, but I think he was like 6'6" or 6'7" or something like that.
Right.
The dude was I remember him being very tall, and I was a kid at the time, right? So I who knows, right? But
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but he, seeing him at Rampage and seeing the kind of stuff that he was doing was
Yeah.
it blew my mind, man. And so that's kind of where, someone who I kind of want to, model, myself after in a sense, right? Is like, being able to do those kinds of things, right? And just sending huge drops and backflips and all that kind of stuff, right? And I remember his attitude was just amazing. One of the nicest guys you'd ever meet, right? And I unfortunately I never actually got to meet him or anything like that, right? So it was, it is what it is, right? But yeah. So a funny fact actually, and this might blow your mind or it might not, but interesting fact about me, I was actually vegan for like 3.5, almost 4 years.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, and I'm not anymore. So that changed real quick. But I've always been kind of into like, trying new things with diets and whatnot. But nowadays I am taking more of an approach like what you're saying, of like, watch what you're eating. You're whatever you put in is, if you want to lose weight, you got to put out more than what you're putting in. Right. Yeah. And I think that philosophy is kind of is what I'm taking an approach as right now. I think that's
fuel,
totally,
man. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Like your body is a machine. And it's just like you decide what kind of fuel you want to put in, dude.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like you could probably run a car engine on baby oil instead of freaking like regular motor oil, right?
Yeah.
It's just not going to run as long.
Yep. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, you can fucking pour straight alcohol in there mixed with like Kool-Aid and it'd probably run for a few miles, but not as good. It's just up to you. And like, it's a balancing act, and like for me, at the end of the day, I love drinking beer.
Yeah.
I love eating chicken wings. Like I love eating pizza. I love, all that stuff. But I also love riding bike and being and like hands down the last 2 days riding, I would have not been able to do a year ago.
Wow.
And,
that's so cool.
And it's because like that effort, and that definitely is a motivator. Mm-hmm. Like to be able to go out and put in a 30-mile day with, 3,000-4,000 feet of climbing at elevation and get up in the morning and do it again. And then get up the next day and still do your local 15 miles with 2,000 feet elevate and like get up again the next day and do, again.
Yeah.
That is a motivator because riding bike's my drug and I like being addicted to it. And like the way I was treating my body in the past, I couldn't do it like I can right now.
Yeah.
And that part makes it worth it. So like, if anything, I could say to you, like, it'd be worth it for those reasons. It's definitely not more fun. Like 300 pounds, 150 pounds. Like, it doesn't matter, dude. Riding a bike is fun.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
Smashing some rocks or hitting some jumps. It's fun. It doesn't matter how much you weigh. It doesn't matter if you're hungover or you're fit or you're fat. Like, those things are fun, and climbing sucks no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Like you're skinny, it still sucks. You're just faster, like, so like there, you have to find different reasons for why you want to be fit or lose weight. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That actually brings me back some memories. I raced cross country back in high school, and we have, for those of you outside of California, we have the NorCal League and the SoCal League, right? For all the high schools have clubs and stuff, right? And so I was on my high school team, and we were kind of the outlaws, I guess you could say, in some sense, right? Because we were never a cross country team. We were just basically the downhill team that went to cross country races.
Right.
So we did okay, right? We had some pretty serious people on the team, but it was one of those things where we would, at least myself, I would be just huffing and puffing on the uphill, right? Get to the top, and then all those kids that passed us on the uphill, I'd right back up with them on the downhill.
Yeah.
And we always had like the Enduro bike, back before Enduro was a thing, right? we always had like 150, 160 mil travel bikes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, everyone else is on like 100 mil little squirt guns, right?
Little squirt guns.
Yeah. So it was just such a strange dynamic. You know, we were the outlaws always. You know, that's kind of been my whole upbringing in the bike world, right? It's just just an outlaw, right? Oh, I'm the big kid. Oh, well, I'm puffing up the hill, but I'll beat you on the downhill. You know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I know the feeling there 100%.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't wait to ride with you, man. We're definitely going to have to hook up. If you ever want to come up in my area, excuse me, drank too many beers and burping. Ever want to come up in my area and ride for sure. I definitely want to get back down to your neck of the woods. I'll be honest with you though. Right now, this time of year, I'm like dedicated to high altitude shit. Mm-hmm. So I probably won't ride the bay much until it starts raining again, you know?
That's the move. Yeah. That's a
good move. Yeah. But for me, it's like, dude, as soon as the snow melts in Tahoe, I just want to be up there just riding everything I can. But some weekends it doesn't work out for that. So
of course,
either way, like if you want to come up here and ride, or we can, maybe something comes up, I definitely want to come down there and hang out with you for sure.
Let's absolutely
let's definitely do that. If you like some chunky, like gnarly stuff too, I can definitely show you some goods.
Awesome.
That might not be on the map.
Come down anytime. You know, we have winter is always better around here, as
you
saying, right? You know, some of the trails are like literally impossible to ride in the summertime.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone could ride them, right? But they're just not enjoyable. You're on the verge of death the whole time. So
I heard there's some super good stuff, like maybe some trails in China Camp that aren't the one legal loop there. So
oh yeah.
I heard there's some pretty rowdy shit over there.
If you know, you know.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I try to blow everything up.
You know, every time I do one of these, I always ask people at the end, and it doesn't matter if it's mountain bike related or not. Mm-hmm. But what's the YouTube channels that you like listen or like watching? Because sometimes people throw out some stuff, like Josh from Daily MTB Rider threw out Carton Arcs once, and he's like, "Oh, I love watching these." Have you ever heard of that channel? This guy basically walks through the parking lot of, like, let's just say Walmart, and anybody that doesn't put their cart back in the cart receptacle, like, he just harasses the shit out of them, and it's funny as hell. So like, you ask people like, "Hey, what do they watch?" and you come up with some good stuff, man. So what channels do you like watching?
Well, I have so just in general, probably my top ones are I don't know if you guys ever heard of Vlog Creations. It's a guy named Charles Ross. He's like a kind of a comedian, but he's just a dude that he's an amazing person in my eyes, right? He does a lot of funny stuff. It's
so vlog like VLOG.
Yeah, the Vlog Creations. Yeah, he's a pretty big channel. I'm sure you'd be able to find him pretty easily. But him, I really like Whistling Diesel. I don't know if you guys know who Whistling Diesel is. He's an automotive YouTuber.
Oh yeah.
He's the guy.
The name sounds really familiar. I'm trying to think of like place the picture in my head though.
He destroys everything.
That sounds fun.
It's like super nice trucks and just destroys them and pisses everybody off, and I love that. So, but as far as like biking goes, Seth is awesome. I mean, whatever channel Seth is running, I'm always watching it.
Yeah.
You you also have God, there's so many. It's so hard to pinpoint them, right? There's a couple other. Why am I blanking on? I'm like blanking on names right now.
It doesn't matter, man. Like I think that the gist of it is just like there's always like, I don't know, man. There's so many channels out there that you can't ever find them all. Yeah, you know. And I think it's to me, I just think it's fun to like hear the one or two, and you threw a couple out there that like. You never know, you know, like there's like, what's that chick's name? Simone something. She's like, makes like useless robots. She's like from like Oakland or something like that. Mm-hmm. She's super fun to watch, man. And it's not something that you would expect me as a mountain bike YouTuber to be watching, you know? So like, it's always cool to hear what other people are watching. And
also I've got to give a shout out to Kyle Warner in April. Like,
oh yeah,
their channel has been so mind blowing how much growth they've gotten. And I've you know, I do know Kyle Warner. You know, we know each other through acquaintances. But
Kyle's a good dude.
It's been incredible. I think you've had Kyle Warner on before, right? You've had him on. I think you've had April on as well. You had them both on, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta give him a shout out because it's like, you know, there's so many people. I literally, people are always asking me, you know, oh, how do I do a jump? How do I do a gap? How do I do this or whatever? I'm just like, I go YouTube, Kyle Warner. All right, here's this video. Send it off.
Yeah.
So it's like here, I could explain it, but he's gonna do a lot better of a job than I will.
Yeah. He's such a nice guy, such a genuine guy.
Oh yeah.
I actually met him through Craigslist.
Really?
Yeah, I was buying a gravel bike and I ended up just buying a gravel bike from him.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know who he was. He like showed up at my house and was like buying this gravel bike. And have you met it? I mean, you said you know him, so like in person,
I do know him.
He's a little dude, like compared to us. Like he's not our size, you know. So like I'm buying this gravel bike from him, and I'm thinking he's like a roadie kind of dude, you know, because look at him, you know, he's like not my size, you know, and he's like looking around my garage because he came to my house and he's like, there's all these mountain bikes. Oh, you ride mountain bike too? And I was like, yeah. How about you? And he's like, oh yeah, I do. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, cool. So like, what do you do? And he's like, well, I'm a professional rider, like Enduro or downhill rider. And I was like, oh, I just played it cool. I was like, oh, right on, cool, right? That's rad, right? You know, and let's change the subject. And then when he left, I like Googled him. I was like, holy shit, this guy's badass, man.
Yeah, honestly, one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life, and I'm not just saying that. Like,
100%,
he's
yeah.
So nice, yeah.
But, and I think you get that from the videos.
Yeah,
you know, like he definitely comes across that way, and I think if anything, like everybody always like distrusts the internet, right? So they're probably like, yeah, he's putting it on. No, he's really
he's definitely not faking it. Like, not at all. That's actually how he is in person. It's amazing.
Right on, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate you spending the time and hanging out here with us tonight and chatting. And I can't wait to actually be able to put some tires on the dirt together.
Yeah.
I had a great time chatting, man. I really did. I'm glad that I ran into your channel, and I'm excited to see where you're going.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's been amazing being on here, you know, and this is my first podcast I've ever done, so it's amazing that you reached out to me, and everything's been happening so fast for us the last couple months that, you know, it's mind blowing, you know, being where we are. And
well, you don't need to do any more podcasts, dude. This is the best one. So just tell everybody, anytime somebody calls you and they're like, you want to be on my podcast? You'd be like, no, actually, you can just listen to this other one. It was as good.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Hey, there's that. Remember, we were talking about like fake YouTubers?
Yeah.
my alert's going out. I'm just
right on, man. So, hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Definitely go swing by Normal Mountain Biker or Normal MTBR, however you want to say it. There's a link in Show More. If you're listening to it on a podcast, there's a link down there. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in Show More there. Definitely swing by and check out his content. They're doing some good stuff over there. I can't wait to see what they're going to do in the future. Same thing goes with mine. If you enjoy this, hit the subscribe button. It's really not that hard. It's like right over there. It's free. And the thumbs up button, hit that if you enjoyed it. If you didn't like it, hit it twice. I mean, it does the same thing. So, or 3 times. I mean, if you really didn't like it, hit it 3 times. It'll do me lots of favors. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm sorry it's been sporadic lately, but hey, it's summer. We're all trying to have fun, and it is what it is. But until the next time, I do want you guys to remember one thing, at least. It only takes a bike to be a biker. Get out and be one.